Hey YouTube. So today, well, 6 months ago, I wanted to show you all this 2016 Honda Civic. Now at the time that I originally shot this Civic, these cars were fresh. This one had just rolled into Motorcars Honda just days before I started filming this. This was an all-new Civic from the ground up. There's nothing carried over from the 2015 Civic. It's bigger, wider, heavier. You know, these are all things that normally you wouldn't want to hear in a car, but it's comfier, roomier, and most of all, it looks great. In my opinion, this is the most outlandish but best looking Civic ever. In past times, Civics were the blandest things out there, and Honda seriously stepped it up this year. And they now come loaded to the gills with stuff you wouldn't think a Civic would have. Stuff that would have been reserved for an Accord or an Acura, you can now get in this Civic. To name a few, we now have push-button start, an auto-dimming rearview mirror, dual-zone automatic climate controls, heated seats, LED taillights, the Honda Lane Watch, forward collision warnings, adaptive cruise control, and the most important one is the Honda Link system with its large 7-inch touchscreen display, along with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay capability. And let's not forget the engines. We've got all new engines this year. Remember, the 2015 Civic had a 1.8-liter four-cylinder that they had been using for years. Now it comes with a 2-liter with 158 horsepower. So that's a decent jump. But the surprise this year is that we also get a 1.5-liter, let me finish, turbocharged engine. And you heard me right, a turbo in a Honda. That's just so freaking unheard of in a Honda. And this engine makes 174 horsepower, 162 foot-pounds of torque at 1700 RPM. Okay, 1700 RPM. Hondas never come with low-end torque. They're breaking tradition here. And both engines come paired to a new transmission, a CVT. Correct. A continuously variable transmission. If you want a car with a transmission that feels like its internals are made of rubber bands, then the CVT is the best to deliver in that experience. But maybe it's not all that bad. And it doesn't have to be bad because the Civic is still offered with a 6-speed manual. But unfortunately, you can't get it with the turbo engine, only with a 2-liter 4-cylinder in the base trim. Now you hear all that stuff and you go, uh-oh, this car is going to be so expensive. And it is. This EXL that I've been showing you is stickered at $24,500. The basic LX can be had for just under $19,000. So when it comes to the basic bitch model, it's in line with the competitors. Check off the touring and check every single option and extra for this car. It goes up to $32,000, more expensive than an Acura ILX. Now one advantage the Civic has over its competitors, it comes in a coupe form. You can't get a Ford Focus coupe, nor can you get a Toyota Corolla coupe. You can't get a Mazda 3 coupe, but you can get a Honda Civic coupe. I believe Hyundai makes an Elantra coupe, but that thing's a unicorn. At the time when I filmed this car, coupe wasn't available. Fast forward 6 months and it's available. The accent is so chiseled and sharp. Civic has a large trunk, one of the larger ones in its class. Now if you get a touring model, you have a little under 15 cubic feet. If you have an EX model, you have a little over that, I think like 15.1, and the reason for that is the touring has rear mounted speakers, but the lesser trim levels don't have them, so if that really matters to you, stay basic. You still have a spare tire. Cars like the Elantra stopped offering a standard spare tire years ago. I wasn't kidding that this interior was very different from last year's Civic. You look around, you don't even think you're inside a Civic. Cover the Honda logo on the steering wheel and this could very well pass as an interior to an Acura. The seats are nicely shaped, well bolstered on the sides. Notice the perforated leather, 8-way powered driver's seat. The steering wheel tilts and telescopes. Notice how the wheel didn't even break off after almost yanking it off the steering column. Even the door panel looks good, it's not boring. And the materials are very good. Just about everything is soft to the touch except for the door pocket, but we're just inside a Civic, so it doesn't matter. Power mirrors, door locks, window lock. Only the 2 front windows have auto up and down functions. Now you're going to hear me say this again and again, but this is by far the nicest interior to ever go into a Civic. It's clear that Honda put a lot of thought into this. They were truly aiming to have one of the best interiors in its class, and it probably might be. Nothing in here is lacking when it comes to looks, and when it comes to interior quality, it's such a huge jump over its predecessor. The fit and finish is phenomenal. I cannot spot any flaws throughout this interior. No uneven gaps. Everything just feels very tight. My only complaint is the glove box, which isn't damped. It just drops right down. So just make sure you have some knee pads. when you sit in the passenger side and decide to open the glove box. There's a plastic finish here on the sides, but big whoop, the rest of the interior is great. A power outlet over here, and off to the other side, a pair of USB ports. Notice how my sync cable routes upwards to this little cubby where my phone is. That's very convenient. The infotainment system, it's called Honda Link. Right now my phone is connected via Bluetooth, hence why you may see the little antenna Bluetooth sign, along with the battery life left over on my phone. The system is, for the most part, pretty smooth. So you can see, let's go back to the home where all the things are. And we actually have an internet browser. I need a data connection. It's funny how I can just surf the web in here. I'll look into that later. Audio. I'm not connected to my phone. This really doesn't help. Sources. Maybe this will be a little bit more helpful. Well, we do have FM, AM, Sirius XM, USB, iPod, Bluetooth, Pandora. I'm not exactly sure what that is. I think it's iPod or Android, and audio apps, but I'm not going to bother with that. Now, the thing that really does bug me here is that there's no dial for the volume controls. I've already mistaken the temperature for the climate control for the volume. The biggest feature is the fact that it's Android Auto and Apple CarPlay capable. I happen to have an iPhone and I already have everything configured to work. As soon as I connect my sync cable, CarPlay should pop up. There we go. See how the Apple CarPlay thingy popped up? And it's also on my phone. Push the CarPlay and we have Apple CarPlay. The time, my reception, LTE. This is the home button now. And you can access my phone book. I'm not going to show my contacts because
Who would you like to call?
Nobody.
Okay.
Okay. You can listen to your voicemail and you have your keypad. Let's go back to the home screen. Music. This is currently what I have playing on my phone. I have a radio station. I use iTunes Radio very frequently, and I do not listen to Kids Bop. Yeah, here are all of my radio stations that I have on iTunes Radio. Playlists, artists, songs. And yeah, I mean, it seems to work very well. It's somewhat fluid. It has a little stutter to it, but I don't know if it's a CarPlay issue or just that this system just needs a little bit more horsepower in general. And you can see now playing. Go back to the home screen. Maps. This is the big one. Since this car doesn't have navigation, CarPlay allows you to have it because it draws all the information from your phone. Yeah, the map does move around very nice, but the one thing I notice is it seems like this system doesn't allow multi-touch gestures. Again, I don't know if it's a CarPlay thing or a Honda thing. You see, I tried to pinch and nothing happens. It's just forcing me to zoom in over here, so that's a little bit stupid. Would have been nice to have multi-touch gestures, you know, make this thing feel more like an iPad. Now I hold down the voice recognition thingamajigger button on the steering wheel, which will activate Siri. Take me to Motorcars Toyota.
Getting directions to Motorcars Toyota.
By the way, I should have said Motorcars Honda. It's right across the street, in case you were wondering. Now I'm in a nearby park, it tells me the address, and if I want to start navigation.
Starting route to Motorcars Toyota. Head north on Cumberland Road.
See? So we, for the most part, have a navigation system in our car, even though it doesn't have it by default, thanks to having the capabilities of Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Let me cancel this. Cancel navigation.
Okay, I've stopped navigating.
You damn well better have. Home button. Alright, we have messages. You can read and possibly dictate your text messages, but I'm not going to do that because I don't want you to see my contacts. Now playing, this is pretty much a shortcut to take you to your music of, you know, what's currently playing. This will take you back to the Honda Link screen. But we want to go back to CarPlay. We need to finish up here. Podcasts, you know what podcasts are and audiobooks. I don't use either, so I'm not going to bother pressing any of that. Pandora, if you're a Pandora user, you can just access Pandora right on here. So that's Apple CarPlay. Very simple, not a whole lot. It does have a little bit of maturing to do, but this is as close as you can get to having an Apple-ish system in your car. And it saves you a good chunk of money. I don't have any reason to upgrade to a Touring, which comes with navigation. Now keep in mind, this car does not have CD. That's just a dying breed. The LCD just looks so vibrant and clear. I love it. The climate control is very simple. The dual zone automatic climate control, the dual heated seats. The shifter feels great in your hand, leather wrapped. Drop it down to S. This is where the car will offer a more spirited driving experience, and low pretty much mimics first gear. But to drive normally and economically, keep it in drive and press the Econ button so you can squeeze out the most MPGs out of this car. Electronic e-brake, a first for Civic. The center console, it just flows down and continues to the back of the armrest over here. The center console armrest is well padded. You can slide it back and forth. Opening it up reveals another decent space to store more stuff. Great. And it's fairly deep, and we have this tray and cup holders, which can be reaccommodated to wherever you want. Up in front is a USB port and another cup holder. Clearly the American market was in mind here. Us Americans love sugar and big drinks. The sunroof, slide open the shade just to show you. Push away, and it opens up like any other sunroof. Nothing special about it. Close it up. Yay! Tilts up and down too. Sun visor with the mirror and vanity light. And off to the side is the auto-dimming rearview mirror. The steering wheel is plenty thick. Love the stitching. You have the bolsters on the sides. Traditional stuff that we see in cars nowadays. On this side, cruise control, self-explanatory. And to the left, we have the volume controls for the radio, so we don't necessarily need to tap away over there. So there's the savior here if you want buttons. This is what you would hold if you want to activate Siri if you're an Apple person. I pressed it again to cancel. And the controls for your phone. I'm going to turn signal stock. Fog lamps, headlamps, auto. Now keep in mind the Touring model has LED headlamps. This one just has projected halogens. And to the right, the intermittent speed wipers. I do like the instrument cluster, much simple from the older car, which had a ton of LCDs everywhere on top of the dashboard and whatnot. You can customize the LCD here, AM, FM, and whatnot. This car does have a boost gauge. There it is. It's just a rev limiter. A look in the back seat. Qualities in the door panel are identicals up front. Everything is for the most part padded. And there's clearly more space back here, as this is a larger car than its predecessor. It's the armrest, which tips down, a pair of cup holders, and there's plenty of space for your elbows. Legroom is adequate, and keep in mind I'm 6'1". My knees aren't squished from the backrest. It's fair to say now that the back seat of the current Civic is a pleasant place to be. Well, the first thing I immediately notice when driving this 2016 Honda Civic is the low-end torque. That's just so freaking unheard of. I mean, every Honda, that at least I've ever driven, you needed to rev its nuts off in order to feel any sort of power, you know? But in this, totally different story, thanks to that turbocharged engine. I felt the wheel hop there. Lost traction. Yeah, all the torque peaks in at 1700 RPM. And it's something you need to get used to because you don't expect a Honda to have low-end torque. Now, the way the engine sounds isn't anything to brag about. It doesn't have a refined sound to it like you'd expect from a European car. European cars tend to be a little bit more subtle, a more refined sound. And this, it's more brute. It's more, bruh, I'm revving, listen to me. Again, the most important thing here is that this thing actually has power. really would have wished to have felt some gear shifts here. Again, we have a CVT, so you know the story with CVTs and how I feel about them. Oh, but once that engine creeps around 5,000 RPM, it actually sounds pretty good. I've been driving this car in S or Sport mode. Put it in drive, and I just got a little eco sign here. The revs will be kept a little bit lower. Car will be a little bit slower. Acceleration won't be as great, but it will be more fuel efficient. I like keeping things a little bit more spirited. So let's just keep it in S. You heard the revs climb up a little bit as I was coming down to a stop. Now, let me see here. I got 55. Again, CVTs have never been about being sport oriented. The car is doing a pretty good job absorbing bumps. It's not abrupt. It's like this is an Accord or something. And these seats are very comfortable. The softest and most comfortable seats to ever go into a Civic. And the steering, the car just wiggles with any little input here. It just feels so direct. Another thing to note is that this car is extremely quiet. Traditionally, Hondas have always been about making as much road noise as possible, but when I drove that 2015 CR-V and now this, Honda is definitely moving away from tradition. This is by far the quietest Civic I have ever been in. And I'm talking a little bit loud because I'm still not used to being quiet inside a Honda. Even compared to my old 2006 Accord Coupe, this is so much quieter. God, this car's so quiet. Alright, notice again the lane watch thing. You can see everything beside you. You're not going to run over a bicyclist coming along that side. All I can say is, Honda finally got this car right. Hell, I'm trying to figure out what can I complain about. Aside from the CVT, I mean, there's just absolutely nothing. My only wish here is that the manual were offered with this engine, because again, you can only get it with the 2-liter normally aspirated engine in the LX trim, which is unfortunate. Makes me wonder what Honda's going to do with Acura with the ILX, which has forever been based off the Civic. Because at the present time, there's just no reason at all to go for an ILX. It has the engines of yesteryear. The styling is no longer there. And with this interior, the ILX can't compete with this car. Unless you're that kind of person who can't bear to drive a car with a Honda badge on it and it has to be an Acura, then I guess I could understand, but it's a very stupid move because this is a superior car in just about every way. Right now, Honda is going for a more outlandish approach on the Civic, and bravo to them, because they have forever been pretty conservative and bland, like they just really didn't care, but now it's just a freaking welcome what they're doing with the styling to these cars. And with that coupe, it's so freaking sexy, especially the ass of that thing. Oh, I don't know if I would take it over a Mazda 3. You can get that in a hatch. In addition, the Mazda 3 has a phenomenal transmission. It's not a CVT, and it shifts very quickly as well with its 6-speed automatic, where it just kind of feels like it has a dual clutch transmission. This car's right up there next to the Mazda 3. This car appeals to everybody, and if you drive it, it's going to be difficult choosing anything else. Honda freaking nailed it with this car.